Hello. Good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, as Jim Carrey said in The Truman Show. And this is kind of an impromptu live that I decided to do uh, before bed, pretty much. And so this is what we're going to be. This is an open discussion, and everyone is allowed to come and talk. So I'm going to just put the link in the StreamYard link into the chat, and if anyone would like to hit it, they're more than welcome to. And yeah, I've just had 2 donuts, like one after the other, and I feel a bit bloated now. And I've got some diet Pepsi here because it's late. Oh my God, Doohickey! I was wondering how you were doing. I was hoping that I'd see you because I was wondering how you were doing because I saw that you were in hospital. So I hope that you're doing better now, and I'm glad to see you again. Yeah. Hello, Lady V.
Hey Jay, how are you tonight?
I'm very, very good. I just said yeah. I just had 2 donuts, one after the other. I feel a bit bloated.
Oh my God, I could eat like 6 donuts in a row.
They were the jelly filled ones, so
Oh, yeah, you're killing me.
the sugar glaze, and so it's easy to
Hey,
do,
let
and
me let
they
me
just
jump
go
down.
well with a Pepsi. You know what I mean, with a soda.
Jay, let me jump down from this account and jump on my phone instead.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can type easier on this one. Okay, I'll be right back.
That's fine. See you soon. I'm alive. Was just about to watch your last live. Oh, that's great. Yeah, yeah. Still, you should probably watch quite a bit of it if you get a chance to. If you're just like around the house trying to just kill time or whatever, and you can just have it on in the background because we did discuss quite a lot of different things. We were talking about ghosts and like the world and stuff. Oh, hello, Liza. It's nice to see you again. Hello again.
Yay! Hello, Lisa.
Lisa.
Lisa, Liza. She doesn't care which one you call her, just as long as you call her.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you don't call her late for dinner.
Exactly. Well, I don't know about that. I don't think she eats that much, but
No, yeah, it's not like she's
she's
big or
fine.
anything. It's just you can
Yeah,
call me
she looks.
anytime, but not late for dinner. Because I can,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not very big, but I have a high metabolism, so I just eat a lot. You know what I mean? Like I like a lot.
Well, enjoy it while you're young, because it doesn't last when you're older. I used to be able to do the same thing.
I have noticed I put on size easier now than I've ever put on size. You know what I mean? Like it's starting to change a little bit. Whereas like I've noticed it. Like if I drink full fat soda, I will put on size.
Yep.
But I just
It
see
only
that as
gets
a
worse. Wait till you're 40.
exactly. I just see that as a compromise because I don't really drink beer that much. Like my first drink this year was only like last yeah, a few days ago. Yeah,
Wow. I
I
don't
haven't
drink
drank
at all.
beer or anything alcohol this year, and it was just a Guinness because it was roasting hot. And I needed it to cool down, and it helped. I was killing time. I was in town, so I was
Yep,
killing
I get
time,
it.
and went past a nice pub and an Irish pub, and I was like, yeah, oh yeah. Hello, Lady V.
I am. I was like, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know if I
yeah,
have any idea what happened. I think it knows we're going to talk ghost stories.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that coming?
It happens. Val, yeah, I saw her in MJ's, but she didn't get back to me. She's probably busy or she's fallen asleep because uh, I totally get that because she was up early yesterday, and then she did go to bed late as usual. So it wouldn't surprise me if she just fell asleep, mid MJ live and
Yeah,
just
I
missed me
get,
basically.
yep, I get that.
She'll probably get back to me either like tomorrow or like later in the night when I've probably gone to bed because there's 3 hours difference between us.
Yeah, that makes things a little hard.
It could be harder. I could be still in the UK and where it would be like 8 hours difference, I think.
Well,
8 or 7.
true.
I'm not sure.
That's
Yeah.
one way to
So
look
it could
at
be
it.
harder. And like if I wasn't already in America, I could probably have a few troubles getting in. I was just lucky that my record had been basically expunged when I applied, so I had nothing on there for them to look at, basically, because all my previous convictions were for possession of drugs and
Oh,
possession
you
of a
were the
knife.
bad boy.
Yeah, but they were expunged because I did like these diversion things where like you go to like meetings and stuff and you do like courses, and I passed them. So like in exchange for that, you get your record clean.
Well, I'm glad your life had changed for a better track. That
Yeah,
was a rough road had you kept that up. Hey, Liza, he
yeah.
dropped the link if you want to come up, hon.
Yeah, yeah. I can drop it again if she needs it. And do Hickey as well if you'd like to come up. You're more than welcome.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, I see Doohickey.
Yeah.
I was busy.
And Carol as well.
Oh, yes, everybody get up there. We'll all talk.
Yeah,
Gary,
because I think I can have
Gary.
up to 6 people. So
Do you pay every month for your
no,
StreamYard?
no.
I'm going to have to
I
talk
might
to you and
start to.
Val.
I
Find
might
out how
start
to
to, but
start mine with that a little bit.
it's an open topic. So like whatever flows, whatever happens, like you can bring up whatever you like. It's up to you and up to everyone.
Wherever we seem to float, huh?
Yeah. I was looking at some of my World War II memorabilia earlier, and it's very cool.
Wow.
I have it from all sides. I have it from even the Japanese. I have stuff from them, like daggers and things, and I
Wow.
have the
Pretty
armband of
cool.
the Rising Sun that they wore, which is very interesting. And what I wish I had more than anything is samurai swords, that were actually used in the war. That because they passed them down from generation to
Oh, yeah.
generation.
Those things are very expensive, too.
Oh yeah, I would love one of them. That's like if I ever like, because I don't. What I really splurge on is like musical equipment. I never really splurge on things like. I mean, I drive a motorcycle that's a Yamaha. You know what I mean? That I got second hand, so it's not like I'm, you know, yeah, I do well for myself, but like I put it away mainly because that's what my grandparents did, and they like lived very frugally, but like left us like 200 odd grand when they died. So it was like, whoa.
That's nice.
Yeah, yeah, they did that for us. You know what I mean? Because they weren't really materialistic people anyway. They never really went abroad. They never like left the UK. They went to Ireland, but that was it.
Right.
Yeah,
I want to go there
and,
some.
yeah, Ireland is good. Ireland's like old America. It's like how old America is. I would assume. Like it's like how it's certainly how the old UK was. Because like in Ireland, you can like you're in a pub and you can see people betting like in the pub, like on horse racing and things. Like you can bet in the pub. Like it's not legal, but people turn a blind eye to it, whereas they wouldn't turn a blind eye to it in the UK or America. You get kicked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just more lax there. It's like if you're not harming anyone, then yeah, they'll let it go type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's cool that you guys can do that over there.
Yeah, and
I
also
don't know
like
if it happens over here or not, though.
probably in like the south, probably in some places, I would
Yeah,
assume.
the dogs and horse races. Yeah, that would make sense.
Certainly.
Okay, Liza gonna go get some water, and then she, I think, is gonna come up from.
That's great.
Yeah, I had a nice time last night. I think we all did. It was really. It's nice
Yeah.
to see you and Val back in action. That's for sure. I
Yeah,
miss you guys very
it's
much.
nice to be with Val on the panels as always. It's I missed it, because she had that break, but it was
Yeah,
a needed break because she was going through a lot. But
yeah,
it's
yeah. I
nice that
talked
she's
to her.
back.
Yeah, I talked to her about it. I know it was going. She definitely need that break. But I mean, both of your channels. It's nice to see you both up and running again.
Yeah, because it's like it was really her that like she never like told me to or like pressured me to do lives, but it was really her that motivated me to do lives. So like when she's kind of stopped doing them, I was kind of like, well, like I like kind of lacked the motivation, you know what I mean? Because I only really wanted to do them if she was gonna be there, type of thing. But now I realize that she would want me to do them anyway, and
Oh
if
yeah,
she
she
can't
would.
make it immediately, like she'll obviously catch the replay type of thing. That and the same with her. Like obviously I can't make all of her live streams. I tried my best to, but has been some streams where I haven't been able to make it, But I've always catch the
Yeah, well,
replay.
life happens sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think she's like me. I would just want somebody up there to at least talk to, so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself.
Yeah, because sometimes if I'm up on my own, I can end up going into this like manifesto, you know what I mean? Where it's kind
Yeah,
of like my words, you know what I mean? It's like what I would say to myself anyway, like how I would put the world right type of thing. And no one really wants to listen to me ramble, do they? They don't.
my husband does that all the time. He could fix anything in this world, I think. It
Exactly.
would run
No,
by if it was run by him.
that's me. That's me. Like when I was on the buses as a kid, when I used to go on like buses from school and all that, I just like talk like about what I would do to make the town better. And like all the old people were like, "You should run for the council. You should run for a parliament." I'm like, "But I'm not corrupt enough to do that. I'm too honest for that.
Exactly, exactly. Well,
I'm
and
way
that
too
that is
honest to be a
true.
politician." I
Yeah,
wear my heart on my sleeve, and you've got to be a snaky bastard to play that game,
yeah,
and
I
you've got to
agree.
be able to put what you want aside and
Bes-
do what the lobbyists want, and
right.
that just isn't
Yeah.
my game.
Besides, it's not that easy. You think you can go up there and make changes, and just like Trump found
Exactly.
out, he could make some, but he really couldn't
You just
make
go
all the
in
changes
there,
he wanted.
and you go in there with the best intentions in the world, and then you come out just being like the rest of them. You know what I mean? That
Exactly.
system absorbs you into it and makes you like it. That's why the two-party system's flawed. That's why if there was like no electoral college and like there was uh, proportional representation in terms of how voting was done, then like all these other minor parties could get a chance, like the Libertarians, who I have a good relationship with personally. Like I know uh, one of the people on the
That's pretty much
national.
what I am.
Yeah, that I would say that because I'm an anarchist at heart. I don't believe in governments really. But if I was to side with anyone, it would probably be with them because they
Yeah.
have that. They're minarchists. They've adopted a more reformed anarchist approach. But I'm an anarchist. I know what I want and I know how to get it. You know what I mean? It's just like the Sex Pistols, anarchy in the UK. That's very much spells out my political beliefs. I don't have any. I just think the whole thing's bollocks, basically.
Well, it is, but we do have to have some sort of something to run, like the highways and the sewers
Well,
and
yeah.
all of that. I mean, we have to have something to run, and we have to have some sort of law enforcement, or somebody just get mad at somebody else and just shoot them. I mean, we had to have some kind of
That still
authoritarian.
happens, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, but not as much. I don't think if people knew it wasn't a government to do anything about it. I don't
That's
think
probably you're
it's probably going to
probably
be a whole
right.
lot worse.
You're probably right. But the thing is with that is I just look at it from this point of view. You screw over enough people, eventually someone's gonna bloody do you in type of thing. So it's like you be an asshole long enough. I believe in karma, so I would just be like, let karma take
yeah,
care of it. You know what I mean? Because it's like with all these people
yeah,
in
but not
history.
everybody does that.
Yeah, well, I suppose you're right. I suppose you're right. I suppose there are some people like Jimmy Savile who like could be absolute assholes their entire life and live a long life and never actually be held accountable for it at
Well,
all
could
in
you
their lifetime.
Could you imagine if it was somebody that there was nobody to stop him? How many
Oh yeah,
more?
like a sex offender. Oh my god, yeah, that would be awful. But I reckon like the parents of those people, where they'd go and kill them. You know what I mean? They'd
Right.
go and do them in.
Hey, I'll be back down. I'll be here in a minute. My husband wants me downstairs.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
All right.
I'm just gonna post the link in the chat in case anyone wants to come up as well. But yeah, I mean, I think less like controlling our lives, you know what I mean, and more for the greater good type of thing. I think that's how the government should be. It should be about making things better for people rather than controlling people, which is all I see it as being. You know, it's I just wish that I think people realize that ultimately. I was saying this on my previous live that you know our the way we look at the world and our how we look at right from wrong isn't really shaped by laws. It's shaped by our morals, you know, and our kind of upbringing, you know, our socialization. But I think that, you know, you can take away all the laws, but it's not going to make us all mad people. You know what I mean? It'll make some people madder, you know. I think, but yeah, I think that. Hey April, that's it's nice to see you here, and yeah, I just think so, and I agree, Doohickey, you need to be ruthless. Everyone, you know, especially in the defense of children, you know, it's oh yeah, Doohickey, one of Australia's least loved entertainers died recently, Mr. Rolf Harris, you know, but I guess Britain basically claimed him because he spent most of his life in Britain more than Australia. He was only in Australia until he was like what 30, and he spent the rest of his time in the UK. So he's pretty much our national disgrace. I'm not meaning it. I understand that. I understand that. I heard. I remember. I saw some of your videos about people in hospital being assholes. So that must have been annoying because usually you can just get away from people who are assholes, but if you're stuck in hospital, it's kind of it's just annoying. Hunting my friend. Yeah, I think so. But the thing is with Rolf Harris is like it was weird because Jimmy Savile you look at Jimmy Savile and he was obviously a pedo. But Rolf Harris, he looks kind of like a jolly old granddad, you know what I mean? Like that's why he was, I think, more dangerous than Jimmy Savile because like he could like lure people in, but Jimmy Savile was obviously a creep. Like you got to be literally brain dead to not see that guy in his dirty old shell suit wasn't a bloody pedo. Hey, MJ, it's nice to see you in here. Ugh, Icky, yeah, he really was. He was. I was watching a documentary about him the other night on Netflix, and it's they're very like it was about his like rise to fame and things like that. Started with My Day with Jay and ending my day with Jay. I this is the first time I've ever done like 2 lives in one day, pretty much, and basically what happened was Valerie was doing the live, one of her Insomniacs lives, and I was already asleep because I fell asleep watching Harry Potter, and then basically I was woken up by Valerie sending me loads of texts, and then I was in her live for 3 hours, and then I did a live for 3 hours, and now I'm doing a live. I'm not sure how long I'll do this. Probably not as long because I do have to be up for a doctor's appointment in the morning and just getting another physical. You're a wizard, Harry. I grew up listening to him thanks to my parents. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I said to my dad, I was like, how do you feel like all the entertainers from your generation, like Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris, Stuart Hall, like all of them ended up being like pedos, and then he was like, well, hang on, Jay, what about that Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon? I was like, exactly that. And that guy who basically made all the Nickelodeon shows in the late 90s and early 2000s, when I was watching them when I was growing up, had this obsession with feet and would make all the kid actors like get their feet out and stuff because he had this foot fetish. So basically, I can totally relate to all the people. Yeah, Dan is a creep. I would love either you to do a live, or I'll do a live, or someone do a live, or we can all do like lives about Dan Schneider. You know what I mean? Because I think more people should talk about him. Because a good YouTuber who's done a lot about him is Sloan. He's talked about him, and BJ Investigates. She's a YouTuber. Sloan's a guy, and they both of them have done really good videos about Dan Schneider, explaining who he was and what he did. All of them are creeps, absolutely. And if any of you have got kids, just keep them away from the entertainment business. That's all I'm saying. Let them be kids. You know what I mean? Let them have a childhood. You know what I mean? And it's just sick, all these parents who wanted a career, basically, or want money, basically, trying to use their kids to have a career through their kids. It's just sick shit. You know what I mean? I can't believe people actually do that. You know, yes, they made a compilation of all the things Dan did. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the like disgusting like clips from all of his shows where it's like made one of the underage actresses at the time, Britney Spears' little sister, Jamie Lynn, looked like she was getting basically ejaculated on in the face. It's disgusting when she was only like 13. So like, what the fuck was that all about? They could get away with more. Absolutely. Times have changed, but it's still around. But, you know, it's people, because of social media, can talk about it and expose it a lot easier than they could in the past, you know, because back then they had the ability to block stories in the newspapers and things like that, and they still do, but they can't block us. They can't stop us from talking about it, and they can't, you know, that's going to be the undoing of those people. And because they thought they could control media. Well, they can't control this media. They can do their best, but there's other platforms to talk about it on if they try to take us down. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Because it's so close to me as well. Because I grew up watching those shows. Well, mainly Drake and Josh. That's probably why I became a guitar player, because of, you know, Drake Bell. And I know he's turned into an absolute disgrace in, you know, talking to underage girls, and, you know, he's went through abuse himself, but that doesn't give him the right, or anyone the right, to talk to underage girls the way he was talking to underage girls. Not that there's a normal way to talk to underage girls, but he was doing some mad shit. Yeah. Macaulay Culkin speaking out, and the Red Shoe Club. Yeah. And Elijah Woods has spoken out about it, how he felt like they were basically like sharks after him when he was a kid actor, you know, and I think the guy who played Doogie Howser and Barney on How I Met Your Mother, I forget his name, has spoken out about it also, about like how all the directors and like, you know, other people who were working on the crew were just like pervy towards him, you know, when he was a kid. And there's a lot of rumors that go around that, because I don't think that Dan Schneider fathered Jamie Lynn Spears' kid, but I do think he abused Amanda Bynes, and that's why Amanda Bynes has got her issues. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I knew a few child actors growing up. Yeah. I couldn't imagine having to do that stuff, to be constantly fearful of what of where you are and what you're doing and what situations you're getting yourself in. And all you're trying to do is act and do something that should be otherwise enjoyable is made into hell. And a lot of them do say like they don't do it when they're older, like Jeanette McCurdy. Yeah, she was on a Dan Schneider show. She doesn't act anymore. I read her book. Pretty messed up stuff. Basically, her mother wanted a career and was living through her and was like controlling of her and like very like controlling and possessive. It was really, really disturbing to read, but important, as it happens, and I think there should be more done, to watch out for parents like that, who are clearly abusing their kids, No, not that I have, no, because you can act as a kid, obviously, because there's a demand for it, but there's a way to do it to where it's not like pressure, you know what I mean? Because kids don't need like pressure on them when they're, so young. I'm just smoking. Yes, he's a very ooh guy. They all have a look to them, don't they? They all kind of, fit the bill, don't they? They all fit the profile of the way they look, They all look very creepy. It's pretty disturbing how he said, like, all the feet stuff in his shows was just innocent fun and not, like, the gross or anything when, watching it back, it's just disturbing as hell. Damaging and dangerous. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think so. It's because you see the people think, times have changed insofar as we can expose it easier, but exactly, very greasy. But I don't think that the conditions that made it so that those people can exist have changed at all. The power dynamics haven't changed, they're still in place, and they always will be. And that's the sad reality of it, there's a certain darker undertone to it all that people don't really realize, or want to acknowledge, but it's there, and people talk of these kind of eyes wide shut parties and things like that, and essentially what those things are is they're just things that are used to blackmail people into shutting their mouths about things like child abuse and other things, because then they've got blackmail on them type of thing. So these kind of blackmail rackets, they're rife in places where there are people with power, so i.e. Hollywood, Washington, London, anywhere where there's power, people have these little rings to blackmail, to influence, and to protect themselves. But I'm glad you've all joined me. It was pretty slapdash. I didn't think I'd do another one today, but I did. So glad you're all here. Yeah, but we can talk about something else, I suppose. I've done some research into Jimmy Savile, and I found that he was involved in the occult, basically. And he used to go out to this place in Scarborough, near Scarborough, called Whitby, and him and like the town mayor of Scarborough at the time, Peter Giaconelli, who was later found out to be a paedophile as well. Him and a few others, dignitaries of the town, would go there and they'd engage in whippings and like BDSM and things in this ancient whipping, basically this old post that was used to whip people who'd committed crimes back in the 1800s and further back, when that was like what people did to punish people. They engaged in that type of activities, and that's an example of these kind of blackmailing rings, because they all come together to do these things to show that they're not afraid of each other and that they have no boundaries, you know what I mean? So they can accept all the other perversions almost. Hollywood is a whole different world. They don't seem grounded and get swept up in the lifestyle, end up not getting out due to backlash. Absolutely. Yeah. It's obviously, yeah, I know Val, and very close to Val, and she lives in Hollywood pretty much. And I would say that she's a star of light in a sea of darkness, pretty much. And she's probably there for a reason, you know. And other people who are in California probably are there for a reason, to bring that light to a place that has seen so much darkness, you know. And that being said, where I come from, seen a lot of darkness as well, you know. But it's seen a lot of serial killers in the region where I grew up in Lancashire and in England, and probably one of the worst serial killers that the UK ever saw was Ian Brady and Mara Hindley, who I did a live about, and they were very active in Lancashire, and that was their region where they did their crimes. So that kind of dark shadow probably is also over where I grew up as well, you know. And but as for, you know, occult activities, there was quite a bit in the 60s, but it died off, and it's now quite stagnant, to where that yeah, I left Los Angeles years ago. Don't miss it, just miss the beach. Yeah, I would imagine you would. I've seen pictures of the beaches there, of Venice Beach and other beaches, and I can see why you'd like it. Anyone would, really. And it's got a lot of beautiful architecture and a beautiful landscape. Like I say, it's just a shame that so many bad things happen there, you know. And it's I guess anywhere where there's this energy of hope and aspiration and kind of like dreams, there'll always be this sinister undertone. Like in Disneyland, for example, like you just go on the internet and search like Disneyland horror stories or like Disneyland like creepypastas or whatever, and you get all these like scary stories about like people getting like, you know, the electronics, they're coming to life and things like that, and attacking people, and just other weird shit like seeing ghosts and stuff, you know. And there's always going to be this undercurrent at places that have this seemingly positive and you know, aspirational, perfect image. You know, there's always going to be that there, I think, anyway. I just think it's the contrast of the energy fields at the end of the day. It's that's why I think, you know, that both emotions are really powerful and can be interchanged really easily. So it's like one side of the spectrum to the other, I suppose, you know. So that's probably why. And there's people, I think, who can draw on that energy and use it for their own benefit, basically. Which is an interesting topic in and of itself. some people would refer to those people as like psychic vampires, pretty much, who drain the energy of people, take out their life force, basically. Not in the sense of sucking their blood, but sucking their souls out, basically. Making them into brain dead zombies who were drug addicted and, got no hope, got no life, got no nothing, and that's basically it. Oh, I'll tell you some stories. I can tell you some stories, right? I'll tell you some stories, right? We'll tell you the story of the time where the police nearly came and arrested us at this party, basically. And we were all there. I'm not going to name, I'm going to give all these people fake names because they probably have respectable jobs right now. Some of them do. I know one of them does. So I'm going to change the names. I'm just going to give them fake names. So we were at a guy called Jonathan's house. That's his name, Jonathan. And we were at Jonathan's house, and this is like in the rougher part of town. And we'd all gotten pills, basically ecstasy, and I got some pills, and I took 3 of them, and everyone else was taking like 1 of them, but I took 3, and we were there, and there was loads of us, and we were just all eating out, and then my mate Paul, which isn't his real name, he basically collapsed. And he had a bad reaction to it and just fell asleep, and that sent me a bit messed up. So I was like, I've got to like get into another room away from this energy. So then I got into another room away from this energy, called up my mate Callum, and said, yeah, can you like talk me down from this bad experience, because we've got Paul over here who's having a bad experience off 1, and he's like twice my size in terms of like, he's a bigger guy than me, because I'm average but muscular, but he's just like a big guy, you know what I mean? Just got a lot of body weight on him. So like, he's having a bad experience of 1. So that if I'm taking 3, I'm gonna have a bad experience. So I said, I need you to talk me down. And he was basically saying how nothing bad can happen because you've done more in the past, so your body's used to it, and his body wasn't used to it at all, so that's why that happened. I was like, all right, that's all right. So then I was all right then, but then we were having loud music, so then this guy came around who was the apartment below, came down with a machete and was commanding us to turn the noise down. I was in the other room, so I missed all of this, and I came back in and was told what happened, and I basically leaped out the window and just ran into the woods, because apparently the guy was shouting that he was getting the police. So I was like, fuck. So I had to run off. So I spent the night in the woods, and when I was in the woods, I was on drugs, and I thought that I had seen a Sasquatch, and it turned out that it wasn't a Sasquatch. It was just a tree branch that had been knocked over in a way where the leaves looked like the wind was blowing the leaves in a way that made it look like it was a figure, and it was brown colored leaves, so like the fur of a Sasquatch is how it's portrayed to look. So I was convinced I saw a Sasquatch and was filming it. And then I woke up in the morning and realized I'd just been filming a bush for about 10 minutes, yelling, oh my God, it's a Sasquatch, it's a Sasquatch. Hello, Mr. Sasquatch. So it was an interesting encounter. So that was a funny story. That was a really funny story. I took ecstasy. I took 3 pills of ecstasy. They were what they called. They were oh God. They've got a specific name for the type of pill that I took. It was a Red Skull. They were called Red Skulls as the specific brand. So if you're wondering what exact pills it was Red Skulls. That's too funny. Filming a bush, you believed it all the time. Have you saved the damn video? Sadly, I don't have it anymore because I use my phone to like put my music on a lot to send to people. So I need to put up save storage a lot because I've got loads of stuff on. So I had to delete it. But I'm sure there will come a time where that will be repeated more than likely. You know, on something or another. Because I tell you, when I take some of these edibles, sometimes they get me into that level where I'm that messed up, you know, where I start like seeing things in the corner of my eye type of thing, where it, like high enough doses, you know, where you get the really high like brownies and stuff, you know. I hope it surfaces one day. I'd love to see it. It may be on the cloud, so I could probably look on the cloud. I probably saved it onto the cloud, so I could probably look on there. So yeah, yeah. And thanks everyone for being here. It's nice to have such massive YouTubers watching such a small channel. I feel so privileged. Disney stories, yeah, Disney stories are good. I could give you one. Because you see, there's this word about there's this rumor that the park in Florida is haunted, right? And that the natives put a curse on it when the white men came to take the land, and basically, they do a ritual sacrifice of one of the like younger park employee women who they may think is a virgin every year. Every time they open up a new ride or new part of the park to the gods, to their gods, to the Native Americans' gods, and so that the curse doesn't, you know, fuck up the ride. You know, and that's what I've read online. You know, and I've looked into this to see if there's like a long list of missing people who have worked there, but there isn't. You know, there isn't. But it's an interesting story. It's one that's good to listen to. It's good to think about that stuff. And if you're into the darkness, you know, that makes that a place going there a little bit more exciting. You know, it did for me certainly when I went, because otherwise I wouldn't have you know, gotten off to it as much as I would have. I did, you know, because I went and found Room 33, which is like this private dinner club, and it's funny because it's like 33 is relative to the masonry. 33, that's the highest degree of Freemasonry, and that's the degree that Walt Disney was. So that's why. So that basically that place is for people who are famous and also prominent Freemasons to go with their families. So people don't realize that it includes prominent Freemasons. And I'm not going to knock Freemasonry too much because my great grandfather was a Freemason. He wasn't too prominent, but he was prominent in where he was. Scottish Freemason, and yeah, but he wasn't into like rituals and stuff. He was just a fraternal thing. But there's different types of masonry, you know, and if you're in the top echelons of society, the type of Freemasonry you experience is very different than if you were just coming as a commoner, you know, like my great grandfather was. But he made very well for himself. He came from a working class background, a very poor background, but he did very, very well for himself and managed to die comfortably middle class, you know. So that's an accomplishment. You know, he was his own private businessman. He sold ovens, you know, which is when ovens were like new. So it was like a lot of money to make. He also fought in the Second World War because he was Scottish, and my Irish side obviously didn't fight in the Second World War because Ireland didn't get involved in it. And like he fought in the Second World War, and he was on a motorcycle and he drove over a landmine, and it blew him up, and he banged his head, and he developed epilepsy after that. So my father isn't the only one in the family who has epilepsy. My brother has it also, and so did he. So did my great grandfather, and you know. But my great grandfather got it not from birth. The others got it, have had it from birth, whereas he got it from an accident. Thanks to you, Hickey. I've been learning Spanish recently. I've been learning it for about a year, and it's an interesting thing. It's good to learn a new language, and I it's probably one of the most useful ones outside of English, I guess. And I guess French is very useful, but there's more land mass that of people that speak Spanish. So I guess it's more useful. And hopefully one day I can travel to one of the Spanish-speaking countries and play music, and work, and it would be a lot easier because I'd be speaking Spanish, because they speak a bit of it in Mexico and Spain, but in the other countries they don't speak any of it, like Venezuela, and Cuba, they don't really speak much of it. I'd like to go to Cuba because I'm not thrilled about the whole communist thing, but I think it's a beautiful country, and the embargo's been lifted, so I suppose I can go there, and chill out. And I don't smoke tobacco anymore, but I would make an exception for a Cuban cigar. That's all I'm saying, because I've had a cigar from Nicaragua, but I've never had a Cuban. I would like a Cuban. Apparently very, very nice. And since I wouldn't be like taking it back, what countries have I been to? Well, I've been to quite a lot. I've obviously been to all the ones in the UK and Ireland. I've been to France. I've been to Spain. I've been to Greece. I've been to where else have I been? I've been to South Korea in Asia. I have been to where else? I want to go to Australia and I don't know, and New Zealand and that whole area. Like, if I was to go to Australia, it wouldn't just be Australia. I'd go to Australia for a few days. I'd go to New Zealand for a few days. I'd go to Fiji for a few days, Samoa, Tonga, Cook Islands, and then like Fiji, all those type of places. I worked at a cigar bar recently, and obviously I've been to America. I've been to Mexico. I've been to where else have I been? Let's think. I've been to Morocco as well, so I've been to near enough all the continents in the world, because Morocco is in Africa, and Morocco's a cool place to go because the hashish there is the best in the world. They make some of the best hash to smoke in the world. And what's your favorite? My favorite so far, I'd have to say America, because there's so much to it, and it's still surprising me every day. And there's always I could be, like I said in this on my live earlier, I could live to 100, and I don't think I would even touch the surface of what there is to see in this country. So you are welcome anytime. I'll play your tour guide. Yeah, I want to go to Papua New Guinea as well. That place sounds bloody crazy. That place is pretty cool. I'm like, sorry, watching your report on missing. Oh, that's absolutely fine, Liza. I'll post the link for you, and if you'd like to come up, you're more than welcome to. And Doohickey or anyone else? April? Anyone? Yeah, I'd like to go to Papua New Guinea because, they say it's a Christian country, but like a lot of them all still follow their old pagan beliefs. So I'd like to go and see how that looks in a country, because I've never been to a country that's like really enshrined with paganism, because their society is pretty mad there, though. There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of muggings and robberies and all that stuff. So I'd have to go tooled up. I'd have to like have a gun, but they usually let tourists and that carry and stuff, because it makes them look bad if they get like mugged or whatever. So that I would do, but I'd probably go to, because if I went to like the Highland region, do you hear much about Papua New Guinea, Doohickey? Because I know Australia has very close ties with it, you know, being its neighbour and all. And I know most of the guns that the tribes use to fight with in Papua New Guinea to fight with against each other have come from Australia, because what they do is they some of the best and strongest weed in the world, which is another reason why I'd like to go to Papua New Guinea, grows in Papua New Guinea naturally in the highlands, because it's so humid there and it's at such high altitude. It makes it extra potent, really, really strong, and it just grows wild. You don't even need to plant it; you can just pick it, and lots of it. And what the tribal people will do, they'll just pick it and they'll give it to Australians, and the Australians will give them guns for their tribal fights. So they used to use, like 40 years ago, they used to use bow and arrow for their tribal fights. So people would get injured and very few people would die. But now they're using like AR-15s and AK-47s, like heavy power weaponry, you know. So a lot of people are dying and it's causing a lot of chaos, you know. So that's just the same weaponry that the police and the defense forces have, you know, and usually they're better equipped than them. Hey Connie, nice to see you. Yeah, but yeah, PNG is Papua New Guinea is an interesting place. I saw a news report that at one point the police and the army were fighting each other, were literally at war with each other, and this was like only a few years ago. And they have a very, where my interest of it mainly comes from is probably a mixture of the paganism, the marijuana, and they like rugby league as well. And I'm a very big, strong fan and player of rugby league, so that's why. And I assume, Doohickey, you like rugby league as well. Or Aussie rules football, which I like as well. Aussie rules football is interesting. It's like a mixture of soccer and rugby. It's fun. It's really fun. It's really fast moving, you know, and the world is in chaos. That's true. It's crazy about the war in Ukraine as well. It's like that's just gonna be a stalemate. They can't win because they just can't win. Russia isn't equipped enough to win, you know, and it's just gonna end in a stalemate. And they'll gain some territory, but they won't take all of Ukraine. And that'll be it basically. And then it'll be kind of like a Kosovo situation where like UN troops are going to be like patrolling the border all the time, and it's going to be a militarized zone basically. I'm not into sports. I understand. So true. Yeah. Have you ever heard of Norfolk Island, Doohickey? It's like an island that's kind of closer to New Zealand, but is owned by Australia and run by Australia. And it's like, it's got a really interesting history. Like, some of the people who live there are like ancestors of the people from the Mutiny and the Bounty, like the Pitcairners. Oh, you watch too much cricket. I can totally relate to that. I love playing cricket, but I hate watching cricket. I find it boring to hell, especially like test cricket, because the one dayers I don't mind. Oh my god, I love Norfolk Island. I learned to drive. Oh, that's great. That's amazing. I really want to visit Norfolk Island because it's got such a really interesting history. It used to be a penal colony, and also a lot of the bounty mutineers settled there when they moved from Pitcairn Island. And my interest in Pitcairn Island comes from like one of the people on Pitcairn Island I actually share a name with. He has the same name as me. He actually used to be a magistrate there, But sadly, Pitcairn Island had its own sex abuse scandal where some of the men were with underage girls. But thankfully, the guy who shares my name was acquitted of what he was accused of, but all the other men were convicted. So, you know, I ran amok on Norfolk. Yeah, but that's why I'd rather go to Norfolk, because Norfolk hasn't had a scandal like that, whereas Pitcairn has. So I'd rather go to Norfolk. I'd feel weird about going to Pitcairn knowing that like some of those men had done all that, you know. But Norfolk is a place I'd like to go because it's got no scandal, and other people in the documentaries I've watched seem really, really friendly and really eager to talk to you about the history, and that's what I like, you know. I'd love to hear about it. There was a murder on Norfolk Island. I did know that. I watched a true crime documentary about it. But that was a long time ago. That was like in the 90s. Speed limit's 40 kilometers and have to give way for cars and deliveries once a month by about. Yes, I heard about that. They get the supply ship once a month, and I guess things would be quite expensive living there because I wouldn't really want to live there because of just the cost of it, you know what I mean? But if I had the money, of course, if I was like rolling in it, you know what I mean? I would of course, I'd keep a residence there because it's just a cool place to live, you know what I mean? It's got its own flag, the pine trees, and it's just got the history of it, and it's just cool. And it's like got the Polynesian element because of the mutineer descendants. It's brilliant. Yeah. It's really cool that you're interested in that. I really like that. Hickey, do you have any opinions on Chopper Read, the Australian like criminal kind of folk hero, somewhat of a folk hero? But I watched. I kind of like the guy. He seems like a kind of, you know, likable villain. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't harm kids, but he'd go after like other criminals, you know what I mean? Like that was his game. Like he wasn't an arse. Newcastle, yeah, north of Sydney. I remember I was trying to tell you on one of your last lives that you did before you took your break, where there was that guy from Australia. And he was basically been pulled over, and it was like an Australian police cop show, basically cops but Australia, and he'd been pulled over, and he's like, and the police officer's like, "Have you been drinking, mate?" And he's like, "I just had a slug of bourbon. I've just come down from Manor Bay, and I'm just going to see my daughter in Sydney." And he said, "I've got a long neck with me," and then he had a long neck of bourbon with him. Yeah, I agree. He was a one-on-one. And then he had a long neck of bourbon with him that he'd been drinking straight from Anna Bay to basically halfway to Sydney, which is a long way. So, and it was nearly empty. And he was wasted out of his mind. And then he got him to do a breathalyzer, and he blew zero. And then he made him take another one with another breathalyzer. And then he blew zero again. I was like, this guy must be some kind of magician, some magical Australian, you know what I mean? He's like what is he doing? You know what I mean? And he's like, did you know it's against the law to have open alcohol container in a car? It's like, only if I'm over. No, it's illegal no matter what. And then he's like, oh, just write me a ticket then. And then they wrote him a ticket and let him drive because he was technically legal to drive. There's nothing they could do. Yeah, exactly. Because he was on a long drive, and there's no excuse. Obviously, I've never drunk and driven, or rode my motorcycle and drank, or smoked immediately beforehand. You know, I've done it a few hours beforehand, but not in great quantities to where it's like would affect me, or it would even like be a problem. You know, but never like in mass quantities. They should have taken him for a blood test. Yes, yeah, they probably should have done. And the fact that I suppose if he had his daughter with him, I'm glad he didn't have his daughter with him. That's probably the plus side. He'd just been to see his daughter, you know, he didn't have anyone else with him, but still, he could have caused a collision on the road, as the officer who stopped him said. And Australia has so many colourful criminals. It's just amazing. Like I'm just obsessed with like the just how funny people, some of the criminals there or alleged criminals there can be. You know, like there's that guy who was like accused of like not paying at this Chinese restaurant, and then he was like getting arrested by the police, and they were taking him out. He was like, gentlemen, this is democracy manifest. And then he goes, this is the bloke who got me on the penis, people. And then he's like, ah, yes, you know your judo well. And then that guy was amazing. And it turned out that it was a mistaken identity. And the guy was just like the wrong guy, basically. And him and the dumpers as well. And on I think it was on A Current Affair. It may have been on A Current Affair. The dumpers, where it's like there's this guy who's in his 50s saying to the news reporter, like, go fuck your mum, go fuck your mum's dog, go fuck your dead dog, and go fuck your sister's dog. And then he goes, I'm going to go inside and smoke some weed. And then he's like, then the news reporter's like, no, the police are going to arrest you for smoking weed. And then he's like, let him then. No, they won't. It was like some guy who was in his 50s behaving like he was 14. It was amazing. And obviously there was Jeffrey Leonard, the grub, who was on A Current Affair as well, who was in Hornsby, New South Wales, who was like accused of being he was basically a paedophile advocate, where he was advocating the repeal of the age of consent, so where it would be legal for adults to be with children of any age. That was basically the platform he was standing on. And he'd been previously convicted for molesting two brothers, and he lived in the same neighborhood where he committed those crimes and still walked past the house of the parents of the boys who he did that to, you know, and he did that before the register was started in Australia, so that's why he didn't have to move. But he was just a dirty bastard, and it's Jeffrey Leonard, his name, and he gets interviewed, and he just goes crazy in the interview, and he goes, yeah, and terrible things happened. You didn't have any sex when you was 13, did you? Did you? No, you did not. And then he takes his shirt off and just starts swearing at the reporter. It's just and like all the people who are like living in his neighborhood are coming out the house like, what the hell's going on? Just seeing this old guy with his shirt off yelling at some news reporter. It's crazy. Loads of big criminals from the Hunter Valley. Yeah. There's that guy who, like, Wolf Creek was based on, Ivan Milat. That guy, he was dodgy. Him, he was like, he was a pretty crazy dude. I wouldn't want to run into him if I was stranded in the outback. That being said, I could probably kick his ass. He was a little guy, wasn't he? He was a little guy. That's probably where his anger came from, and he targeted women as well, because he's a coward, you know. But I'm sure you ladies could have kicked his ass, and that's all I'm saying, you know. I know way too much about Australians and criminals and shit. It's something that I find very fascinating. There's just something about them that makes them more interesting than ones from the UK and the US. They have personality. All of them have, even the sickos, even the worst of the worst, have like personality. You know, they make for good interviewers. I'd let you hitchhikers in those days. Yeah. That's a good thing, because that's what he was looking out for, wasn't it? It was easy targets, pretty much, you know, and such a big space to get lost in. Pretty much, it's like, what's his face? David Parker Ray, the toolbox killer in New Mexico. He had an entire desert basically to himself to bury all the bodies. So it's like, you know, it's near impossible to go and dig up a desert. You know what I mean? You just can't. I think it was a really good idea to do a live. I'm glad that you all came in. It's been nice to see you all. What's everyone's favorite movie at the moment? I'll have to say, the one I'm digging at the moment is Trainspotting, Scottish film about like these heroin addicts, and it shows like what heroin addicts and drug addicts are really like, and it doesn't like sanitize it or romanticize it. It shows it for the hell that it is. If you watch that film as a kid, but like I did, it doesn't make you want to do heroin. It makes you not want to do heroin. So it's a good film. It's got a great soundtrack as well. It's got a lot of Iggy Pop in it, which I'm sure you both of you do. Hickey and Lady V, you both probably like Iggy Pop. I love Iggy Pop. I'm just rolling a joint. Kathleen, full big story. Sadly, no, I didn't know. What can you explain, Doohickey? Haven't heard Iggy Pop in a while. Yeah, I love Passenger. I love 1969 as well. That's probably one of my favorite songs by him. 1969, okay, dun 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 dun, all across the USA, dun 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 dun. It's fine. What's my favorite type of music? I would say 60s rock, like, of any kind. Like it could be like mod rock, like The Who, or psychedelic rock, like Jefferson Airplane, but just 60s in general. I love the 60s. It's I know Valerie Knox loves the 60s as well, and we both say that we were probably in a past life alive in the 60s. What's everyone else's favorite type of music? She was pardoned yesterday after 20 years. Oh yeah. Oh no, yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, Alex Erickson was talking about it in her live earlier. Yeah, I have heard of that. Yes, I did, and that's interesting, you know, because Cardinal Pell was cleared as well, wasn't he? George Pell, the like he was like the senior Catholic bishop, but then it turned out that like he was accused of molestations, but then he was like acquitted. He was like had it like, you know, pardoned or whatever. He was like acquitted almost, like it didn't stand. So there's been a lot of them in Australia in recent times. So high profile ones. So I guess maybe there's some kind of legal reform. Or see, what do you think? Do you think she did it or not? You see, I don't know, because it's kind of weird that would happen, but I guess it's not impossible. Yeah. He was a bit dodgy, wasn't he? He was a bit dodgy. And people supported him just because they were religious, just because of his religion. just because of who he was. It's like, you know, it's like if a footballer did it, and he was in your football team, and you're gonna support him. No, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. But people still probably would, though. That's the thing. People are like that. They feel as if they have to defend how they think of that person to everybody else. You know what I mean? And when you start blindly following people, that's the road to disaster. That's the road to like atrocities being allowed to be committed. What about that Australian woman? What was it? Was it Bella or Becca Gibson who like faked cancer and like said she cured it herself and shit? Fucking Tara Reid really gave it to her in that interview, didn't she? I like Tara Reid. I think she's a good interviewer. Yes, yeah, that's possible. That is possible. I think so. Bella Gibson, yeah. She's she her interview was pretty funny. She was she acted like a kid in it. It was pretty weird. I love Tara. Yeah, Tara's funny. Tara's funny. Tara's a good interviewer, and Ben Fordham's a good interviewer as well. He has a radio show now, doesn't he? And he's good. And I like what's his name from New Zealand as well, Paul Henry. He's good, but he's not doing much anymore. But Paul Henry's hilarious. For the longest time, I thought he was an Aussie, but I only recently found out he was a Kiwi. Exactly, April. It's messed up. It's like people who need attention so bad that they're willing to tell the worst of worst lies to fuck with people's emotions. It's the worst kind of emotional manipulation that I can imagine. You know, it's pretty messed up. Mindy Chamberlain was my first time following true crime, yeah. My first time following true crime was probably the Moors murders case, because even though that happened in the 60s, I just wanted to know more about it, because it happened like dead close to where I grew up, and that kind of shaped my outlook and how it got me into true crime, because then I wanted to know about all the other cases, the big ones that happened in the UK, like the Yorkshire Ripper, and what they called, and Peter Tobin, and what's his name? The West family, the Rosemary and Ed. What's his name? I forget his name. Frank or something. West. Yeah. Thank you so much, Doohickey. I really appreciate that. Yeah, the Moors is a very interesting case because it's got there's loads of information available for it, because I guess the people who did it lived for so long. You know, sadly, but they did, and although they weren't obviously forthcoming with it, in the end, both of them did give comprehensive versions of what happened, both different. But in Ian Brady's version, he obviously said that Mara Hindley was involved in every single part of it, whereas in her version, she was only involved in the kind of the burying of it and the procurement of the kids. But I believe his version, to be honest with you, because he had no reason to lie, because he didn't want to get out of prison. She did, you know. So when you're analysing things like that, you've got to think about, what does this person have to gain, and he had fuck all to gain. You know, maybe to try and get back at her because she stopped writing to him because he felt hurt by her and betrayed by her, but still, there's evidence to show that he was telling the truth. Really? That's interesting. But yeah, the Yorkshire Ripper is a case I'll probably cover soon because that's another case that changed Britain. I mean, apparently, because I talked to my relatives who were living in the UK at the time, and my grandmother was as a woman, and he was targeting women. Thought, was very careful, like going out at night. They'd always go out in groups and things, and never be alone. And they've not. She never experienced that level of fear since, because the Moors murders were targeting children, and they didn't really know that they were serial killers until after they were caught. Whereas with Sutcliffe, with the Yorkshire Ripper, everyone knew he was a serial killer because the pattern of victims was the same: young women at night with a hammer. But some people say he admitted to more than he did, which is possible, because they are quite spread out, because they're all the way from Bradford to Salford, around there, Wigan, Salford way, so it's quite a distance. Yes, he died very unhealthy. Yeah, he really. I think it was because of the medication that they were giving him in the mental hospital he was kept in Broadmoor that caused him to kind of balloon out. But he was always quite a big guy anyway. I'm just having a smoke. Again. But yeah, there's a lot of cases in the UK that a lot of people internationally aren't aware of, but are very interested in very big cases. I think a lot of people are invested in the Madeleine McCann case. I think that's something that has crossed international barriers, and that's an interesting one, A sad one as well, but an interesting one, Because there's all these people who think that the parents were involved, and to be honest, I thought that for a while, but I'm starting to think that this guy in Germany is the one. Maybe history is repeating itself. Yeah, like in Oregon, where I think that there's a guy who's a killer. Honestly, I think there's a serial killer going around targeting like women who are drug addicts or on the streets, and yeah, easy and vulnerable to get. Yeah, that's true. Because for a time, the main thing was mass killings, mass shootings, mass this, mass that. But now serial killing has become the thing again, and that's both of them are worrying. But serial killer's harder to catch than someone who goes on a mass shooting. Harder to prevent. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine. How are you guys?
I'm very, very good. I'm very relaxed.
Good. I'm sorry. I was going to forward it and then I listened to a piece of news and I just stopped to watch it. Yes, the bird sounds very nice.
Yes, they are. They're around. They like to come out early around where I am. I'm quite rural, so I'm lucky in that way. So I get a lot of wildlife.
Uh, well, I'm just gonna say because I was kind of shocked with this piece of news and I haven't seen it. They were reporting on what in May 16, 27 Cleveland children missing in the
Really,
2 weeks prior.
that's really concerning. Do you think maybe there's trafficking going on?
Well, they were very. They tried not to say it, but what the guy said? He said that Cleveland has like a 56. I want to say 56 open missing cases of children since 2015. 27 of those 56 happened the first 2 weeks of May.
That's incredible. That's really concerning.
That seems completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I took the time to very quickly look at the Cleveland Police Department and the records. It's not very user friendly, but 2-3 days and the same district, district 3, district 3, district 3, district 1. And this is something that surprised me. Many of the kids do not have a picture. And
Wow.
when I was listening to the news, this is a police chief that serves for I don't know if it's a charity or a foundation or what it is, but it's for the missing. And he was telling parents, please take pictures of your kids, because if police elite does not have the pictures, it becomes very difficult to try to locate these kids. And I'm thinking, who does not have pictures of their kids?
Yeah.
And my kids at school, every year, they are required to have a picture and they have a ID with them. In any case, they have that ID and they belong to that school. I'm like, what? And not even drawings of these children. And I'm not one to put anything on the parents, but it sounded to me like, everybody has a cell phone. Everybody takes pictures.
Yeah.
As human beings, or maybe just as a mother, I just assume so many things, and my assumptions, doesn't matter how old I get, the world proves me wrong. Yeah. They said that he did said that a small percentage, maybe from 1 to 6, and I don't remember exactly the numbers, but I remember this: 1 to 6 children probably were lost to trafficking.
I think so. Do you think
Oh,
maybe there could be cult involvement?
I don't know about cults. I really don't look at cults very much, because to me, what I believe is called the lockdowns had a lot to do with people losing jobs or moving to other places, or families being very dysfunctional, because it was hard on us all. And that what we are seeing is that I read a few weeks ago that by the end of this year, trafficking will make more billions than drugs.
Yes. Yeah.
Then, and we have one of the things that the cops said, that if we touch on social media and kids are having problems in their house and they find somebody that looks like a friend to them in social media that said, yes, I understand, I know what you're coming through, and by the way, let's meet by the park.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was another thing, like they were asking police parents, look at your kids' social media. Don't let them, free range. These kids were between what 12 to 17, most of them. Then they're kids. I mean, at 12, yeah, most parents at 12, they do give you a cell phone.
Yeah.
And all the games, and if the kids do not have a cell phone, they can communicate by PlayStation, by Xbox. It's free range out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's some things, and I don't particularly like stories about kids. Even the trials, when they have the person that did something to a kid, I try to avoid it.
Yeah,
But
it's hard to hear.
yeah, but I was looking on a passage, and the number just 2 weeks, and it was like 3 a day.
Means that there
And
has to be an organized ring going on there.
Jay, that's what my mind went like. No, you have to be kidding me. This could not be.
Yeah, and the police should be looking, but the problem with that is if someone prominent is in any way linked to that, higher ups may say, leave it alone. That's happened in the UK before.
I don't know how you can leave it alone if they have for what 30 since 2017. Okay, but in 2 weeks, almost, they said 30 plus. They don't know. They're not really sure. This 27 is where they got police reports. With
Exactly.
others from family members. Others, they have reports, but yeah, the reports are not from immediate family members. And whoever is somebody higher up involved in this, they're gonna get exposed
I think so.
because it's too high. The number is.
They're making too much noise.
Mm-hmm. Somebody's getting too greedy, and it's horrible because people like me, I talk to my kids about all this, but that's a subject that I didn't want to approach, and it was very painful for me to know the right time, because I didn't want to take their childhood from them, telling this to them, all these horrible things that happen in the world. But then we parents sometimes, at least I tend to think that my kids know less than they really know. And when I go there, they are like, really, mom, you're late. You're very late. We know that. I'm like, oh, okay, how much you know and how you know, who told you. But not all kids are the same, because I have one kid that you will think that he lives on Mars with Elon. I mean, he doesn't care about what's going on in the world. He doesn't care if you don't make him if you don't make him read politics or read geography, he could care less. He's up to his three things, and he doesn't care about anything else in the world. And then it's difficult, but this story was scary,
Mm.
and I don't know how it's a weird one. June 5th. The story was May 16, 2 weeks ago. Never heard of it.
It's crazy how no one did a live on it either.
Maybe somebody in the chat. Maybe Lady B. She always knows a lot about a lot of stuff, and she keeps up. I cannot read chat right now. Maybe I can. Let me see.
Yeah.
Because I had no clue.
I did some research into this cult, which is really interesting, that was called the Finders. And they were basically a human trafficking cult. And one of the guys in it was basically ex-CIA or current CIA. And they used him for, like, basically deniable operations. He was a deniable operative where they'd use him for, like, infiltrating subversives, so like white supremacists and things like that, because he could fit in with that crowd and he'd give them information about them in exchange for them turning a blind eye for his human trafficking activities.
No. Wait, he went there to bust the offenders and he got into it?
He was already into it, but the CIA found him and said, right, we can either prosecute you or you can help us and we'll turn a blind eye to what you're doing. If you help us, basically. That's happened before. It happened with this guy called, as well, this other guy in a separate case called Joshua Sutter, who started this cult called the Temple of Blood, which is a satanic cult, and they like glorified like rape and torture and murder and things like that. And basically, he was a paid CIA agent. They paid him upwards of $100,000. And basically, he was there to lure people in and entrap them, to brainwash young men and women, to entrap them so that they would have to become agents as well, or face prosecution. That's fine, Lady V. I'll drop the link exactly. Yeah, I was as shocked as anyone. It's when you get into this stuff, it makes you realize that it's not about they don't have our best interests at heart, and that it's a lot deeper and a lot more layered than you'd think, and it's ultimately about control more than anything else, more than like doing good. So that's what I've found when I've researched this sort of thing. Because why the hell would they be employing people like that? He was in mental case.
Well, sometimes it's difficult to figure out mental cases but what they did, they made a call, because I assume that there were good people there that figure out that this man was doing that, and they have to make a call, get him in, or leave this monster inside, a monster of their own, to get the bigger fishes.
Hello. Yes, I mean, you have a good point there, because there hasn't been any big operations attributed to the kind of paramilitary wings of those organizations. A lot of operations have been foiled by the government in this country, so I suppose he's fulfilled a purpose to them.
Well, is this country and every country? Because one thing that I got, what I saw and I read about, is that, oh my God, the marshals are involved on missing children cases. It goes from the state police to the marshals, and they have free range everywhere since they are federal.
The federal marshals, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and from there it goes to Interpol, and then you have the International politics involved and all that. But to make that call when you find a monster inside your organization and you have to decide, I take him in or I leave him there to get more, has to be horrible.
Yes. Yes, it's a big moral dilemma that they must face themselves in. That's the whole dirty world of informers, you know what I mean? That's why I say to people, never talk. Even if you're like in with the bad crowd, don't talk. Just don't talk. It's just not the given thing. You just keep your mouth shut. And if you've done crimes, you take responsibility for what you've done and try and not do them again, is what I say. And don't harm people and try to find a path where your only option is not violence, where you can find better solutions and better ways, because they are
No.
there. You just got to find them, because
You know,
you can be
Hello,
a
Lady B.
Satanist and not have to go crazy and kill people, man. Because like I'm into paganism. I wouldn't really call it Satanism, but I'm into paganism, and I'm not like that. I'm not into that
well,
sort of
you're
stuff.
in nature. You're not.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That's the
into.
difference.
I find I pathway work with my gods through nature. That's the medium I use, whereas others would use like violence and extremism and things like that. Whereas my medium's nature, and I think it's a damn good one.
Oh yeah, I agree. You know, I was watching the other night. I was watching a channel. I can't remember which one it was. I think I just ran across it that it was either, I think it was in 2019, early 2020, that all across the world they just busted like hundreds of pedophile rings all across the world all at one time.
Yes, was that an Australian show?
Mm, mm, I don't know. It could have been, but I mean,
Yeah,
they brought them in all, like it sounded like they brought them all in at like the same time. They kind of executed where everybody. I mean, because word spreads fast in that community, so
Yeah, they
oh,
have their forums and things where they talk.
right, the deep web and all of that, and so they
Yeah.
went in and busted them all pretty much at the same time, and there was like 200 rings or something that they busted all over the world.
Because it's weird, you get an index of sites on the deep web, and they sometimes can include those type of sites. And just looking at the names of them makes me freaking sick. You know what I mean? It's messed up. Because on the deep web you can't just search things in. You have to like get links. So you go on indexes of links that people have compiled on WordPresses and shit, and they'll have a description of what the link is. So
Yeah,
like.
you don't want to go there.
Yeah, I just click on stuff like alien stuff, alien theories, and alien like websites, and just stuff about aliens and UFOs and like
Right.
ancient history and untold histories that like we're not meant to know, and secret like Soviet like
Oh yeah,
research
no,
that they did on aliens and stuff that got leaked out, and just stuff about North Korean stuff leaking out as well. So like just all that sort of stuff.
well, I'll be honest with you. With Kylie, I was wondering because John Podesta lives up there,
Yeah.
and I was wondering. My first thought was, I wonder if it was a trafficking ring.
Pizzagate, Pizzagate, Pizzagate.
Oh yeah,
that
well,
that whole thing was mad. But
yeah, but
I don't doubt that it's possible though. I'm not saying either way because but I think it's possible. Of course, it's possible.
well, it was the first thing that I thought until they found her. I still have my questions about how they found her,
oh yeah.
It
Me
looks
too.
staged to me.
It does.
but um, yeah, yeah, the lines that we cannot see because it's impossible for them. You see the big ports and you see all those vessels with all their merchandise. It's impossible to catch everything. It's just
Oh
not.
yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
And even the same routes that they use to from for I remember, I think I said this once. I think that Mrs. Lady D was Lady B, Lady D. Oops, Lady B was in there. I remember I went to Guatemala, to Antigua. I love Antigua, Guatemala. It's a very nice place to have peaceful vacations, and they have 4 or 5 streets, and people walk around. You barely use your car. It's like an old tiny city. It's very colorful. But we met with this person that worked for an international agency, and I was telling the person that I wanted to go uh to what to to a site, archaeological site. And he said to me, "You don't want to go there." I'm like, "Yes, I want to. I have seen it in all the books. I have to go. This is so cool, blah, blah, blah." It's like, "No, Lisa, the, they have the donkey airport." I was like, "What? What the freak is the donkey airport?" In a, in, they have a path between Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico that is so extremely dangerous that the people use donkeys and teach donkeys to follow a track, okay, to follow like a highway or whatever they call it, airport, but to follow this track without humans, with whatever they want to go
Wow.
from Guatemala to
That's
Mexico.
interesting.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it's
Crazy.
scary because
That
I
is
was like,
scary.
yeah, I was like, those are drugs, and they say not just street drugs. It could be pharmaceuticals that and it goes both ways, and it's just the animals going in and out because
That's
people are
crazy.
so scared to go in there that they use these animals.
Wow. I've
I
never heard of
never, yeah, I couldn't imagine something like that in a million years. And if they do it with cargo, they can do it with any kind of cargo. I mean, you can inject something to a person and they will be sleeping in the back of an animal.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But that's, and what is all about? Money.
Yeah.
That's
That's what
why
it's
I don't
all
know
about.
about, yeah, that's why I don't know. I'm not that sure about cults because I think that what people want and need is money, and some people just don't care how they get it.
Oh, and I believe that.
That's most people, but there's always that minority of people who like trip off power and control, and like that's the main thing that they get off to. And money can come into that, but like cults can sometimes be seen as an exercise of power and control. You know,
I
it's like
think they can be blamed too often for some evil people that just are out and out evil.
yeah, yeah. I think that yeah, because it's true. Without it's like the leader of Scientology. Like he'd be like that if he wasn't in Scientology. You know, he'd still be like violent. He'd find some other job. He'd probably be in the military. You know, and be a real bastard of a drill sergeant. You know, that's how I see him. You know, that's how people who've been in see him because he's like that. He's bloody little midget asshole like Napoleon.
Yeah.
I'd
Yes,
love
and
to
so
go and piss them off, like go and film them and bloody bug them like they try to do to people.
well, I read they exercise a lot of control. I read the amount of control that they had. I don't read Scientology too much because I was done with them years ago.
Yeah,
But the amount of control that they had with Lisa Marie Presley,
Oh, yeah.
I
that's
was
true.
thinking, wait, this one had millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
and she let herself to be controlled everywhere she went, everything she did. They
They
need
told
to
her to
know.
leave Michael Jackson, didn't they?
I'm not sure. I'm
Th-
just
I
sure
heard
about
that.
the part of she was in the board of executives, whatever, but she had people following her all the time. She knew it. Every movement she made, they have to say yes or no. I mean, I'm
Yeah, I don't.
Catholic, and I'm going to if I go to church and I ask something to a priest because it's a moral dilemma or something like that, I get out of the church, and at the end of the day, I will do whatever I want.
Yeah.
But and having, uh, and I'm not blaming her, because when you have people that you think that care about you, and they are very good manipulators, you
Yeah.
get manipulated. I have been manipulated, and it takes time to say, wait, what's going on? If you wake up, and when you wake up, then you go through the pain of you being manipulated.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, because some people, their pride, their ego doesn't let them admit that. So then they end up staying in longer than someone like me, who I don't think I have much of an ego. I really don't, because of my spiritual beliefs. And I got into Scientology not for control or getting power over anyone, to help people, because I was already getting their services, like their courses to help, like life improvement and self help stuff, which I could have gotten books on, like for a lot less, they would have helped me a lot more, and I realize that now when I do read a lot of self help, and obviously there's people like Tony Robbins who are like full of shit, who overpriced like
Life,
shit, yeah.
life coach.
Yeah, exactly. Like Molly Golightly, who is
Well,
the
Yeah.
I
last
don't know.
person
You
to
you
be
guys said that, and I that was the picture of in my head. I was like, oh my god, I cannot. I'm thinking about this woman.
Molly Golightly. Yeah, she's the worst. She's like,
Oh my goodness.
she's such a, she's a grifter. She like she talks about the Glee curse. She's like an idiot. It's like that. There ain't no curse. People die, and it's tragic, and people die. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of them in that show, so. They're not all dead.
What she talk about? What Glicker?
Yeah, this show called Glee that was on in like the
Oh, okay.
late 2000s to mid 2010s.
A
It was like,
singing song.
yes, it was, but it was
Musical.
it's kind of like a more racy, raunchier high school musical, basically. And
Yeah, I never watched.
it was
Yeah,
done,
yeah.
it was done by the guy who does American Horror Story. Same guy who makes that
Yeah,
show.
they have to end it because something happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never watched it. I don't know.
I didn't
I
either.
yes, I did watch one or two episodes because the music was nice, but I was not like I didn't have time to watch it all the time, but I was like, oh, okay. But no, it was but then what she had to do with that
She
production.
she did a live and about it and said that like all the people in it were cursed, and that like all those people like making a mockery of the deaths, basically.
She,
They kicked
my
her
God.
off the YouTube, didn't they?
They did, and she it's funny. I've always thought it was weird about her, because not to talk about her too much, but I always realize that she tries to look like Joan Rivers, doesn't she? I've said that other people have thought
I
this.
see that. Yeah.
She tries to be Joan Rivers because she tries to get the gay following from Save Robbie, and like in her what's the name wife swap thing, she had that gay friend Princess. So like, and Joan Rivers was known for having quite a big gay following, so I guess in that sense, and the fact that she looks like her as well,
She does.
and and she has tried to look like her through plastic surgery. It makes me
but
think
John,
that that's who she
John,
wants to be.
I mean, now I didn't know that she probably tried to mimic Joan Rivers, but she may have wanted to read about Joan Rivers' life. She had a tough, tough life.
Yeah.
Woman worked every
Yeah, Edgar
day
died.
of
Edgar,
her
her
life.
husband.
Yes, the way her husband died, and but she worked and worked and worked from horrible places with her comedy because she was an
Yeah, she did
entertainer.
it, and she would perform anywhere. Pretty much, that was the thing. She'd do anywhere, basically. So, and I can
Yeah,
relate to that as a performer myself, as a musician myself. I'm
she
a
worked.
performer, so I would do anywhere. You know,
Yeah, but
a gig's
and
a gig.
What
yeah,
finally got her kicked off?
I was, somebody told me something about YouTubers that I didn't know, and I was like, what? Who did what? Oh, Lisa, you live exactly where my son lives in Mars. And you have to watch this channel and that channel. That's why I'm being, away for so long. I'm like, okay, I have to figure out what's going on in this side of
Mhm.
YouTube because I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, because there's loads of fighting, isn't there? There's not really. Everyone gets along in this corner, but there's
Some
lots of fighting in other corners. I'll tell you that.
some fightings are not real. It's
I
just for
it's
views.
Yeah.
a lot of it's stage. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
It's
For
Yeah,
like
that's
example,
what
it's
I was.
like wrestling,
I
isn't
don't.
it?
Yeah, they ask for what is they ask for receipts. I don't have the receipts, but I have. Yeah, I have a very good premonition that they talk between each other.
Oh yeah.
And
And
they go,
they
I want your receipts. Stay in your lane. I'm like, shut up. I don't
yeah,
care.
some of them,
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, some of them, yes, do that. But when that happened, well, it didn't happen to her. She was looking for it.
Yes. She all that shit she pulled with Brian Laundrie, that was just dumb. She wasn't there because she gave a shit. She was there so that she could get her face in the papers. That is the truth,
Well,
and that is a
I never
fact.
watched her. I never watched her during that time. I watched her this year.
Yeah.
Maybe last year I stumbled upon her channel, but she was having a screaming match with who knows who that was chatting to her, and
Probably
I was like,
Laura.
okay,
Probably
this
Laura.
lady,
Yeah.
no, it was somebody in her chat, and I was like, okay, she has a channel, and she has subs, and she's screaming and to a sub that does not have a channel. Okay, this is too much for me. I didn't want to understand what was going on. Later on, I figured out that the woman had a big, well, was going to get to 100,000 or was close to, and she, how to say it? I don't know. So, you know, when you're having trouble in your personal life, your professional life gets hurt. It's
Yes.
it happens,
Because she was having
and
trouble with her husband.
I don't know. I what I think is that something was going on in her personal life, and she just lost control, and it because her her personality was to act as an out of control person, and as you say, the type of the 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 persona Joan Rivers wanted to look in front of the cameras,
Yes.
look like, yeah, but you need a very you have to have a very strong personality and very sure about yourself, and your person, you cannot do alcohol, you cannot go to drugs, you cannot do over medication. You have to be very grounded to portray yourself as a crazy person,
Yeah.
or it will permeate. And I think that happened to her. I don't know what happened in
Yeah,
her
where
personal
the
life. I have no clue.
yeah, I
I
But
think
agree
she
with you.
just fed on the drama.
you think so?
Yeah, I think there's just some people out there that don't know how to live without drama.
She needs it. Yeah, she was always fighting with someone.
Yeah.
It was like It got
And
ridiculous.
I agree with you, Lisa, that, I think a lot of them get off and they're like, hey, okay, what are we going to fight about now? It's like, but I think
Absolutely.
some of them are just absolutely fighting to fight, and they just don't know how to live without the drama. They thrive on it.
Absolutely. And with us, it's funny because, like, we all get along in this corner, don't we? We do pretty
We do.
much. And I have issues with people every now and then, but there's a few people. But it's schoolyard crap at the end of the day. I don't let it ruin the lives, or like, it's like very rarely do I even say anything about it. Really, maybe last night I did a little bit, but I said it in a jokey way, so it's all right.
I don't know. I think that well, she when not to talk more about herself because she's not in YouTube anymore. I'm sure
Yeah,
she
yeah,
will come back
yeah.
because
Or she'll
people
go to
come back.
Twitch.
Yeah, but she will come back to YouTube. I mean, people do other accounts or whatever they do.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people who don't like her will end up reporting her for ban evading, and then she'll get taken off again.
But the thing is that even people, and I have followed this because sometimes I'm, channel jumping and I'm in my house doing other stuff with my AirPods, and I'm looking at other channels, and suddenly I end up in a cat fight, and I go back running to my TV. What is that? I'm guilty of it. And I don't even know who is fighting with who. I don't know the history, the story, but my nosy brain is there trying to figure out what's going on. And
There's always fighting in. I'll tell you whose community there's always fighting in. Granny's watching her community. There's always fighting.
She's
There's
the only
always
one I'll
feuding.
watch.
She just gets a lot of shit thrown at her. She got shit from like that Lycan guy who's a fucking asshole of a man. He just attacks women of all
I don't know
kinds.
which one is that one. What is Lycan?
He was this guy. He's like this incel who attacks women basically, and he's an ass.
I have no clue who that's one. But this is what I'm to tell you. I'm telling you, I just go to see what's going on. And even I know that my brain is telling me, Lisa, this is probably a ruse. Or Lisa, this is not your business. Just go
Right.
away.
I tend to stay away from those.
Go back to your studio. Don't touch the keyboard. I'm sometimes like, okay, I think that.
I'm like doohickey most of the time. I don't even like have a fucking clue. But if it's a creator who I like or I'm friends with, and they're getting shit thrown at them, I will stick up for them. You know what I mean? Regardless
Yeah.
if I know what's going on or not.
I started watching Jess when she was what was it? She was covering some case. and
Yeah, I know you go
watching.
in there as well. I don't really go in there as much anymore.
Yeah,
'cause I'm busy.
I love Jess though. She's such a sweetheart.
She's cool.
Yeah, it upsets me when people treat her wrong. It's just some people. I have my housekeeper's the same way. It's just like they got this sign on them that says, I'm just pick on me or whatever. I don't, because it's upsetting. That there's always somebody like out to get them.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if when they get into those channels, I think that most of them can handle it. I like it in a way because it's one fight after the other. And out of
That's
it's
what I
real.
think. They thrive on it.
And it's real as well. It's not. I think it's because a lot of them are like housewives, and they watch like Real Housewives, and that's their real version of Real Housewives. That's why they fight, because that's how they see it, because they feel like that.
I don't even watch that stuff.
I don't. I obviously not, because it's for women.
I do watch it now because I needed to figure out what was that thing. I was like, because I had no clue it existed. Because I went more to the crime oriented
Well, did you watch
things.
Queen Bees?
Oh yes,
I've heard of Queen Bee.
crazy
Yeah.
too.
I had no clue. I heard of Queen Bee, but there are many Queen Bees in YouTube.
Oh yeah, there
Yep.
are.
It's millions upon millions upon millions of persons. It
Yeah.
took no long ago. It was a creator that lied about something that he got that had to do with her. And I watched him because he did a video about something that actually Mrs. Golightly did. And sometimes that's why I don't, sometimes they go too far because you never know who is behind the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are, they say, go real live. And when they go real life, they are extremely nasty.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm thankful that no one's gone real life on me.
I
'Cause
don't.
some people, some like Jess was like Granny's watching. She was like had to like leave her house because someone was threatening like to come there and like attack her and shit. So, and she has kids, so like she had to like flee and go to a hotel. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that I
if
don't have to
you're in
go
the
through that
drama
shit.
community, if you're in the trauma community, I mean that you should expect that because it's not a secret.
It's a crazy
I don't
place
even
full
want
of
to be.
nuts.
Yeah, I don't even want to be associated with it. The only
It
reason
tires
I
me
go to
out.
the only reason I go to Jess is because she's just. I've talked to her for a while on panel and stuff, and when she's been shopping and everything, and she's just the sweetest thing, and it upsets me. I'm like, I don't like people being mean to you, But other than that, I'm like, no, thank you very much, and I don't get involved in it either.
No, no, no.
'Cause
Yeah,
I
but
don't really want anything to do with it, but I do want Jess to know, you got people that support you and care about you.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, one doesn't need to get involved in it, but if you like YouTube, you need to know what's going on
You
because
do, you do.
I didn't know that they have a makeup community that fought with each other. I watch makeup channels and I'm like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that.
Like Makeup Monster and all of them.
I, but they have fights in
Oh
between each
yeah.
other. I was like, what? You're doing makeup. What you're fighting about?
Yeah.
But I
Like
didn't know that part.
even the bigger YouTubers I see fall victim to that sort of thing. Like I watched this woman who's like an ex-convict, like she used to be in prison, and she does videos about like things like how it was in prison and stuff. And like
Oh,
even
I like
she,
her.
yeah, you know
I,
who I'm talking. She has braces. You know who I'm talking about, don't you?
yeah, I like the way she narrates. She
Yeah,
narrates very nice. And people have a past. You cannot expect people do not have a past. And she doesn't owe me an explanation. Then I watch what she does, and I think that it's very decent. And she tells the stories.
yeah.
Yeah, that's okay with me. But yeah, I mean, she's been pretty successful, and when you get successful, you're gonna have haters.
That's true.
In real life, in YouTube life, whatever you want. That human beings, we are what we are.
That's very true. That's
We
very
we
true.
don't we don't need a cult. We can be vicious ourselves.
I'm the type of person who always needs a group. You know what I mean? It's weird. Like I want. I guess I get it from my great grandfather who was always like in like the Masons and other groups. Like I like to be part of groups. With people. I just do. I'm not a lone wolf by any means. I was for a few years, but when I first moved here, but then I gradually became part of groups here.
Yeah, I do.
Panama.
I like to be like with people that I feel like I can get to know and trust.
I'm a part of the Knights of Columbus, which is like,
My uncle was.
yes, it's like the Catholic-ish version of the Masons, and I'm also in the Ancient Order of Hibernians as well, which is a Irish nationalist organization that is like like same pretty similar to the Knights of Columbus in what it does, but it's more openly about Irish nationalism.
I like groups, but not that much. I'm more of a loner,
Yeah.
So
family
where do
oriented.
you descend from originally, Lisa?
Well, in my mother's side, they came from Greece
That's interesting.
and went to the United States and to Panama when 1930s, 30. World War had or Germany already had their problems. Then Germany, Hitler started in 33. Then between the 33 and 37, by the time, but it was just for business. They were not going to stay.
Yeah.
But by the time they wanted to go back, it was difficult because all the U-boats and all the, the ships,
Yeah.
and
Submarines and
bombs, and yeah, and what was that big passenger ship, the English one that went down?
the
Um,
Titanic.
Titanic.
no. It went down because a U-boat.
Oh
Uh,
yes, I know what you mean.
but it was
The
yeah,
Carpathia. No, that's not right.
the which?
Carpathia.
No,
No,
that
that
was
was the
not the
boat that
one.
they took the people off
Yeah,
the
that's why I said
Titanic to.
that's wrong.
Well, one of those happened, and people got very scared because, of course, the Germans thought that the British were transporting weapons, and they were transporting people. Who knows what happened
I
there?
know
But a
which one
lot
you're
of people.
talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
I was in
Yeah.
a World War II. What's it called? It's where you recreate it. Recreation.
Oh,
Oh, and
cool.
Yeah. I had to
The
be on the bad.
Bismarck.
I had to be on the baddies though. I had to be with the baddies. I was in with the Germans.
The ship that went down was the Bismarck.
The Bismarck.
Bismarck. Yes.
Yeah.
I was with the Germans, but on the other one, I got to be with the French. No, that was all right. You know, but before they were Vichy France, before they were.
Well, that happened, and they have to stay in the Americas. And after the war, their mother called them. Told by letter, you have to come back. We have a business. Blah blah blah. By that time, all of the three brothers had married. Women from different countries, yes, and they went back eventually, but they have made money in the Americas, and they didn't want to go back to Greece. Plus, my family had a kind of strange history in Greece, and they didn't want to go back, and they stayed here. Then, and my father family, they are Dutch. They went to the Guyanas, and I think they have kind of mineral kind of stuff. It was not nice. I mean, during the war, they were the equivalent of pirates.
Wow.
Black market and all that kind of stuff. Yes, because that the only way to survive for many was buying things in the black market, and
Yes.
you will buy things in the black market, and they figure out, okay, instead of buying, we are going to sell.
Yeah.
And they will team with soldiers on each side, any side, and they will buy from soldiers because soldiers were the ones that were allowed to go in and out without too much looking at what they had in their bags.
Really?
A lot of soldiers and a lot of airmen. We didn't have uh, the satellites and all the things that radars and all the things that we have now. People will, even now in the 80s, I mean, Colombians went to the United States and with cargaments of what.
Yeah, and the CIA and the FBI helped them.
Yeah, and just imagine during the Second World, it was a free for all.
Yeah, the people were too busy. They were too busy with other shit, with the more important stuff. The war. So I guess those black markets must have thrived then. Government was too busy.
Yeah, the government didn't have time to go after people, and some of the things that were good, ladies' fabrics from France. That the fabric industry in the United States had to stop because a lot of things had to. The women were on fabrics making airplanes or making tanks, and they didn't have enough money to buy those fabric clothes to make armaments. Then France start making things, and some Germans figure out this is money. Once they got into France, they continue the factories, and then the black market just went up. It's history inside history, because it's a war. It's not a clean cut thing. One lose and one wins. It's not like that.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing that when people tell me, yeah, because we are for Ukraine, I'm thinking, you haven't been in a war country in your life. You cannot tell me that you are for this or that. You don't know what that people are going through. If you put a nice yellow and blue flag, whatever you want, go there, live in their shoes, and then tell me a story.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And the same thing with the Russians. The Russians are not having a good time either.
No.
Then, and it's more complicated. Oh yes, I like this president against it. The presidents are very good. Putin and the other one, they are living very well.
Oh yeah.
It's the people in the street that live in streets like mine, that have little life like mine, are the ones that are suffering.
Yeah.
Because they cannot get milk, they cannot get anything. And if they get milk, they have to pay 15 times the price. Take it home,
Yes, because of
open it and
inflation.
find it. Yeah, take it home, open it, and find that it's not good anymore, but they're going to have to drink it because they don't have anything else. And
Well, war is a profitable business.
Oh yeah. I'm too old to. Oh yes, we do it for the greater good. Yeah, right. You do it for the greater good. Show me your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a shame Val couldn't join us.
Yeah, I thought she was going to go live tonight.
She doesn't usually do them consecutively, like one after the other. She might go live tomorrow.
But I don't know. I thought she had messaged me and asked me if I was going to be on, and I told her I could. So maybe I misread that.
I have she's usually on at 1. Can I ask what happened? Because I am still lost. Why she got a strike?
Sorry.
We think it might be the music that she was playing on one of her videos.
Yeah, she did a video about Yellow Jackets, a TV series that she loves and she introduced me to, and I like now. And she put Paint It Black on by the Rolling Stones, and then she got a claim from that. And then they looked into her channel content and found that she'd been breaking terms and other stuff when she really hadn't. And then they just came for her, which is just ridiculous. And they did the same thing to Crazy Crime Chick.
Wow.
Then basically music.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, but then there's other people that talk about words we don't ever use and things like that, that they seem to be fine.
Yeah, like people who are like extremists.
Yeah, I don't get it. Why can they say, you know, like words that we can't say?
Like slurs and stuff.
Well,
Or
and
out and
other
out say
people,
it.
no, or other people that I'm okay. I understand that copyright is something that we have to take very serious. Is in terms of service. Oh well, right? I mean, the days of what was that app? It was not even an app. It was a service in AOL. I'm gonna remember that had free music, and after that, oh, I will remember.
Oh
Anyway,
my goodness, that was a long time ago.
yes, it was everything was free. It was so great. Anyway,
Yeah, it was.
but we have the laws, copyright, blah blah blah. But what I have heard in the YouTube streets that they call it, people send the police to other people's house, and that is okay with TOS. What? What? That's
Yeah.
horrible.
Exactly.
I don't understand.
Doxing
My
people's
mouth.
like information.
No, they send the police. They send SWAT teams. I mean, their kids, their wife, everything, everybody in the ground with
Somebody sent
guns
one to
point.
Brittany's a couple weeks ago.
No,
Yeah. The
but
ambulance
you
was
see,
out in front of her house for a
that's
welfare
craziness.
check.
If somebody does
Yeah.
that, they should not have a YouTube channel.
I agree.
Out. That is outrageous. How people? Ugh. I don't get it.
Neither do I. I think it's horrible how they've come after Val and Crazy Crime Chick so hard, but then they just let other people who just blatantly break it all the time
And
get away with it.
They say the words and even worse, and they just never seem to get in any trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they just do, and then they're gone because we don't watch them, and then maybe they come back under a different name. I don't know, but it seems to me like there's some of them on there that really just do whatever they want and say whatever they want, and they just never seem to get in trouble.
Yeah, but Lady, and just think about it. I mean, I think I'm right here. I can think in somebody that I really, really don't like. I don't hate people. I don't. Nobody has that power. I can hate somebody like Hitler,
Right.
but in my life, nobody's like Hitler. Then I don't like somebody, but I will never, ever in my wildest dream call
Yeah.
LE, take money, take their time, my money probably if I'm close to that person. I don't know. I just cannot. Why?
Yeah.
And it's a federal offense. If they get you, you are going to jail.
Right.
It's and that goes to the how mad could you be with somebody that is just talking in the internet like
Not
Britney.
me.
I mean, Britney's just she has her channel. She's talking about cases. What 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 does
What
she
did
do
you
to?
do? Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's too much. It's like the thing with Molly. I mean, I saw her once. I didn't like it. I changed the channel. End of story.
Exactly.
Mm-mm. Oh, that was. I don't know. And then the other part, the big YouTubers where I go, the ones that have several thousands or a million or 5 million, they last week I heard. Oops,
Sorry, that was me.
are you okay?
I just dropped my iPad a little bit.
Oh, the new one.
No, on my phone.
I'm probably going to wrap it up
soon.
soon.
Okay. Then, well, yes. What I can see is, say is we need to. I mean, it's okay with the fightings, but don't go real life. It's not worth it. Whoever you are, you can get in trouble.
Exactly. And it
Yeah.
just, if you keep going, it'll just get to a point where it becomes criminal and you can't return from that point.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to drop down. I'm going to go to Lost Souls.
Okay.
I haven't been there for a while. Probably I will stop by.
Yeah, I love Scarlett. She's just like, have you been there, Jay?
I don't know who she is. You can drop a link if you like. Or
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. I love her channel. It's like
what
no
does she do? Does
drama.
she do like tarot and stuff?
No, it's a Lost Soul. She does true crime.
Oh, right, okay. But what is she covering tonight? Is she going to do Oregon?
She's she's doing Kohlberger.
Oh, right, okay.
She,
That's good.
but it's a very quiet. Hang on, I'm trying to get you the link here. It's no drama. There's
That's
not.
great.
There's not like everybody gets along. There's no drama. But there's also no like. I mean, it's a very serious channel. They do have the times that, they joke around and stuff a little
Yeah.
bit here and there, but not like every few minutes. Like,
Yeah.
some are getting to be for me too much.
It's like the last time I was there. It's more relaxed now, and it's a kind of brainstorming of
It is.
many people and the chat based on what Ellie has given the public.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to head over there. I dropped it in the back chat for you.
Thank you, Lady B.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. I put it in the chat for a doohickey as well.
Yep. I missed you, Liza.
Miss you too. I'm happy to find you again.
Me too. All right.
Thank you for both of you for coming up. I really appreciate it. This was kind of last minute.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Thank you, Jay, for having us.
Yes, very much.
Ciao.
Buenas noches. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Doohickey. Thank you, Lady V. Thank you, Liza. Thank you. Let's see. Thank you, April, if you're still watching. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, MJ, for coming. Thank you, everyone.